This Sunday, I'm going to be writing a declarative truth. Would you please listen? Aaron Copeland is better at me than fantasy football and more handsomer. So that is my declaration of the truth today. And as I sign in to the friendship folder, and maybe you have a declarative truth with the friendship folder as well.
That was a delight. It was really a wonderful service, just all around. My compliments to the pastor. It was wonderful. Everybody, I'm Aaron. This is my friend Jason. Welcome to the our wicked cool SoonerNation Fantasy Football League show. This was a really wild week. Like 5 out of our 6 games, they featured teams that desperately needed a win to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah.
And 4 out of those 5 teams just failed miserably.
Yeah.
It's like all of our playoff hopeful teams, they were the Red Squadron. They were making their attack on the OG Death Star. Biggs Darklighter, that's Mendenhall. He's making the trench run with Luke, but then Vader just blows his ass up. Vader being Jay. This season's iteration is more like Jake Lloyd Vader. This is not the Vader force choking dudes and massacring younglings. This is Jake Lloyd Jay this year. Porkins, that's Chad. They came from behind. That's how Chad likes it. Red leader, Gavin Trace. Jeremy Carr, he puts up a good score, but it just doesn't go in. It impacts on the surface. Legend, Tilly's, Brandon, over 100 points. He survives, but he has to watch Han and Luke get the medals instead. I guess this makes Chris Luke Skywalker. He blew up my Death Star. We're going to have him on the show at the end to talk about it. Here's our segue. Let's start looking at the games from last week. Chris defeats the Cobras 106-94. Mahoney moves to even 6-6 with the win. He avenges the week 1 loss, evens the series. He's got 4 wins in his last 5 games. Really getting hot despite just dud after dud from the quarterback. He's pretty much a lock for the playoffs. Another win or a loss by a couple guys. He's got it locked down.
Yeah, 6 wins is fantastic. The Josh Jacobs run this week. Let's hear it from your end. I mean, were you watching live? Did you see it?
Yes.
Were you crushed? How did that feel?
Yeah, here's the crazy thing. When on Friday, Josh Jacobs questionable, I was like, oh man, if Josh Jacobs is limited, man, but Josh Jacobs held the football aloft. By the power of Grayskull, I have the power. 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 42 points. 40. That's a week winning score. What can you do? You can't. He's He-Man. I don't know. Cobras, they ended a 3-game win streak. It was the worst outing since week 8. The win was there with some different lineup choices, but once Joe Mixon was declared out, I was like, oh, Garrett. Gibson had been over 10 points for the 4 of the last 5 weeks. I knew Garrett had the potential to go off, but I thought Gibson was the safe, conservative play. You go conservative when you're the favorite, take the chances when you're the underdog, but man, bit me in the ass this week. I needed a little more dog in the fight.
But with Mike White, do you feel like you have found your receiver for the future? Garrett Wilson's second touchdown, when he put his foot in the ground and started going down the other, I looked like Jamar Chase to me, man. It was just like that guy was in a different gear. He looked awesome.
I have started trying to figure out what color jersey I'll get. The green, the classic green, maybe. I kind of like the black too. So, that's kind of where I'm at with Garrett Wilson is jersey shopping.
That's fantastic. Speaking of jersey shopping, man, I gotta admit that the Seattle Seahawks store is coming up in all my feeds right now. I've been fantasizing about my Ken Walker III jersey for quite some time.
That's gonna have a must buy.
Speaking of jerseys, I gotta make sure Brandon sees the jersey this week. This is the Kenny Score jersey from the University of Oregon. So Brandon always gets after me for not showing the jersey. So what do you have on today?
This is in honor of Team USA vanquishing the Iran. So I've gone with my Dream Team jersey.
Nice. Fantastic.
Yeah. Next game, Jeff versus Josh.
Yeah.
Jeff defeats Josh 112-87. Man, that win brings Jeff to 10-2, tied for the league's top record.
Yeah.
Second in total points. Josh takes the loss, doesn't really hurt him. 7-5. He's got the 4th best record. Second loss in 3 weeks, but nice comfy lead in the wild card race.
Yeah, I mean, Pat Mahomes and Eckler look fantastic, but Dalton Schultz is a tight end that looks really good for the stretch run. And Jeff's team looking great with Mahomes. Mahomes at the 4th straight game with over 320 yards passing.
It's the Rhinos just keep rolling. Like for somebody that's been above average all season, he seems to be peaking now as we ramp up to the playoffs, which this squad he's throwing out is not one I want to face in the postseason.
No, and
heavy reliance on the Steelers could be a bit of an Achilles heel. Steelers in the fantasy playoffs, they got Carolina, they got Vegas, and then Baltimore. Those first 2 teams don't scare me, so maybe not a bad path.
Well, his bench, he had over 10 points from Foreman and Robinson at the running back position, and over 13 points from Moore and Burks from the wide receiver position. So not only did he score a ton of points this week with 112, he had 4 players on his bench go for over 10 points.
Yeah, so he's got to be sky high confidence right now.
He's got to be fun.
You can look at Josh and think maybe he needs more consistent wide receiver play, but here on cue, Jamar Chase should be back. So, there's an upgrade over Donovan Peoples-Jones.
And Christian Watson. Christian Watson with 6 TDs in his last 3 games.
Yeah. Like it'll be interesting to see who Josh rolls with here.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Down the line.
Hopefully a playoff letdown coming up, though. That's what we always like from Weiss.
Jay defeats False John 86-82. This moves Jay to 3-9. It's only his 3rd win of the season, but it's his 2nd win against the Hellhounds. In fact, every one of Jay's wins this season were against somebody named John. False John drops to 4-8, 3rd loss in a row, swept by Jay. This is just a real kick in the nuts to his playoff hopes. And now he's got the Russell Sweat Sox waiting next week.
Man, I tell you what, but who wants to face Tua and Waddle and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Olave in the playoffs? Does that number 1 seed? Well, imagine Jeff or Shane having to face the Hellhounds. I mean, woo, it's gonna be great. It's getting so good right now.
Amon-Ra, he looks like the real deal.
Yeah,
I mean, he seems to get banged up, but man, that dude just makes plays when he's on the field.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dameon Pierce hit the rookie wall or just the gravitational weight of the Texans sucking was more than he could withstand, but it's been kind of ugly for him for a couple weeks. I don't know how you could trust him.
Yeah, I noticed that too. 1.6 this week, 1.7 last week.
Yeah.
You kind of felt like you had to start him because he was scoring 15, 20 points a game, but now what do you do with that?
Yeah. On the other side, Rachaad White looks like he's got some juice in the legs, but he seems kind of like a middling talent, but he's getting the touches and he's doing a little bit with them. So that's what we count scores on in this silly game. Doesn't look like a long-term solution guy to me, but cut this clip out when he makes the Pro Bowl next year. We'll see. I'm not sure why Jay's got 4 defenses. Now, I have a hunch about Kansas City and Tennessee. I don't know why 4. He seems to maybe be chasing Houston in the playoffs, but I don't know why. I don't get it, but it's some tactical move. I don't know. It's strange.
I don't know either. Although I do, man, as far as the actual NFL, don't have time for it on the show, but the Washington Commanders are a fun team to watch right now. And my dad's best friend, Gene Bates' grandson, John Bates, with a touchdown, number 87 this week in the right corner of the end zone. The Smith family went crazy for John Bates. It was a huge moment. Like we all went crazy. So I'm going to get my dad from eBay a signed John Bates PSA graded rookie card to send to his buddy. So we're pretty excited for that.
That'll be cool.
So,
that'll be cool. Next game up was Shane defeats Chad 139-111. Russell Sweat Sox, they moved to 10-2, tied for the best record in the league, ends a 2-game losing streak with the highest score of the week. Chad's got 111. That's a good score with bad outcome. Loss puts the Rompers at 4-8. Playoffs are really in jeopardy now. I don't know. Jeff Wilson's put like 3 good games together in a row. The issue with Wilson's always been durability, not talent. But with Wilson and Dalvin Cook, the running game is holding its own with his vaunted receivers. I don't know. I think Chad might sneak into the playoffs at the expense of one of our next teams.
Man, same thing with the Hellhounds. Like, who wants to face even Andrews and Tucker as far as his special players at the bottom? I mean, it's
a tough combo.
Yeah, and Justin Jefferson. 9 for 139 and 1. He is a beast. Wide receiver 1. Can
Happy
be a weekly
Thanksgiving.
winner week after week. He just looks
Yeah.
amazing. Looks amazing.
Yeah. On the other side, Shane's really top heavy. Like his starters are as good as anybody or better. But woo, there's a cliff to fall off if somebody gets hurt. His ceiling is so high though. Each of these guys can save a week with a gigantic game that just bails out, a mediocre guy on the other side. He's going to be a tough out.
Yeah, this week it was Sanders with 150 rushing total yards. I mean, he looked amazing. And the Eagles look so good. My goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's so heavily invested in those Eagles. Boy, yeah.
We'll see if AJ Brown can stay healthy. You're right. He doesn't have a very deep bench, although he did, I'm sure everybody noticed, pick up a free agent this week. He picked up a free agent for the second time of the year. He picked up Nick Westbrook Akine. Did pretty well. So I want to make sure that we give credit due for Shane, who I don't know when you're going to be watching this video, but Shane debuts his season tonight in Norman. Memorial Bulldog season starts tonight.
Good luck, Bulldogs.
Yeah.
True John defeats Brandon 117-101. Pharisees score their second highest points of the season, winner of 2 out of the last 3. Brandon gets over 100, but it's just not enough against this Pharisaical onslaught. This Jolkin Rolkin Tolkien has lost 4 in a row, and that division lead from a month ago is a distant memory. Brandon has not won a game since Halloween. Like, I'm sure that's not news to him, but I was kind of surprised when I saw that.
Brandon has had, nobody has had over 1,400 points scored against him except for Brandon. Brandon has had 1,408 points scored against him. And it's absolutely shocking. I mean, it is shocking how many more points each week he has scored against him. Second time John's cleared 100 points, and he does it against Brandon. I don't know what to say. I every week it seems like it's the same song.
Yeah, it's Lucy pulling the football out. Just each week, it's a different one of us pulling the football out. He's got bright spots. Like Jamal Williams has just been this dependable, just monster workhorse. Brandon had the points to win this game on his bench, but that's the trouble. How do you choose between the quarterbacks? How do you choose the wide receiver?
Oh man, and Lawrence really had his best game of his career. It looked amazing, and he's sitting there on the bench. But I mean, I'd roll with Geno too. So it's hard. It's hard to know. It's hard to know what to do. I feel for him.
We got Jason defeats Jeremy 134-105. The Karate Kids 7-5, won 3 in a row, leading the league in total points. Over 100 points than the next highest team. Haven't quite clinched the division yet. Because of the week 3 loss to Jolkin Rolkin Tolkien, there is a scenario where you lose the next 2 and Brandon wins out, including that week 14 match against each other, and Brandon would win the division. So it's in play, but you easily control your own destiny here.
Yeah, man. This week just walked around like a king. I mean, to have 2 touchdowns from Walker, a touchdown from Hopkins, a touchdown from Diggs, a touchdown from Kelsey, Herbert's first game over 50 points, and then on the bench taking a touchdown from Jones, Homer, Dillon, Pacheco, and Lockett. Had 5 guys on the bench score touchdowns. The difference when I was recording this show, but when I thought I was going to lose for a 4th consecutive week and go to 3-8, I come back, I go to 4-7. I mean, 4-5 to go from, I thought I was going to go to 3-6. Instead, I pull out a win to go to 4-5, and now sitting at 7-5. I'm sure the league is just cheering along with me with this great 3-week stretch.
Yes, you've got the support of the people.
Yeah, I know. Everyone
love it. Yeah,
everyone's rooting for the Karate Kid. Just like in the first movie, everybody knows that everyone's rooting for Daniel-san. Yeah.
The loss takes the dude down to 5-7. He's winless in the division. Breaks 100, but it's just not enough. And the dude is gonna need help to make the playoffs. Excuse me. He gets Keenan Allen's best game of the year. I guess he's back. I don't know. Good timing because Mike Evans has been on this month-long streak of turds. Zeke Elliott's piling up the points when he played. And Lydell played hard. He brought a fight, but it just was not enough. Kenneth Walker, he seems like far and away the best rookie pick this season. Probably a different conversation if Breece Hall hadn't been hurt.
Yeah.
But that's where we are. Breece Hall got hurt, so I mean, none of the receivers have had the kind of season Walker has had. He's just been just really head and shoulders in his own tier.
He's so fun to watch. He's my favorite player on my team. I just love he runs the ball upright and he just finds the end zone. Both touchdowns were incredible. We can keep going. No one wants to hear this. Let's keep going.
It pains me when you get to have a guy like that. I just would feel better if somebody,
I get it. No, it's fine. Let's keep going.
You want to talk about any picks contest?
Yeah, Josh went 14-2 and vaulted into a tie for the lead. I don't know if people are watching the picks contest.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I thought Jay was going to be far and away the winner, but Jay went 10-6, and so it's a tie at the top of the leaderboard. So I thought that was a pretty big deal this week. So in case that nobody saw that one, so the race is back on. I thought it was going to be pretty much over. But now we've got Ghosts and Vipers up top, and then the Cobras with 4 games behind.
4. Well, we've seen that's just a 1-game swing.
One game.
We just saw that I can do that this week.
Yeah.
All right. Let's look ahead.
Yeah.
We might pick the same teams in every game this week.
Okay.
Which shout out to Brandon tabulating those scores every week.
Yeah.
That's nice of him to take care of that. First game. Let's look at Chris versus Jeff.
Okay.
Jeff had a 4-point win the last time they played. On paper, or I guess my laptop, I don't see an advantage for Chris at any position except Josh Jacobs, and that's a real narrow gap over Austin Eckler this season he's had.
Yeah.
I guess Metcalf and Lamb would be a wash. Everywhere else, Jeff just seems way better. Like Mahomes over Kenny Pickett, like that's Ivan Drago, Apollo Creed. Like maybe even Ivan Drago after Apollo was dead and his body did that like thing, and he's like, "Give me the towel." Like that's Kenny Pickett versus Patrick Mahomes. Is Apollo versus Drago? Jeff for the win in the sweep.
Yeah, I'm taking Jeff. Mahomes' worst week in the whole season was 33 points. Kenny Pickett's best career game in his history is 33 points. There's just no way that he can keep up.
Next up, Aaron versus Josh. Ghosts won by 57 points back in week 2. I'd like to avenge that. That's kind of embarrassing. Well, I'm thrilled that Jamar Chase appears to be back. It's kind of a bummer that I have to play against him this week. Should be good for Burrow overall. So, I'll take it as a positive. I'm afraid Nick Chubb is just going to do some horrifying things to the Houston defense. Like, Love's bathroom, horrifying defense. I think this game's going to be a doozy. Like, it's going to be really close. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I always want to beat Josh because we have this rich history of games, but it's hard to get up for a game that doesn't really matter. We both clinched wild cards. Still, I want to beat his ass. So Aaron wins, evens up the season.
I'll take the Ghost then. This was my early pick for game of the week, but I think we're going to get to that later when we've got a couple of teams fighting for the playoff lives when we get to the Brandon Jeremy Carr game. But this is what we're going to call the blue chip game of the week. Like this is going to be like the heavyweight. Like these are 2 big good teams going against one another. It's going to be a rock fight, and we'll see if how Jamar Chase does. I'll be very interested to see how you feel about Jamar Chase's return. Are you excited, or do you not like that all those points go to Josh? Well, we'll have to tune in for that.
Yeah, I think it's great for me if he gets 3 touchdowns this week. Like that's a good thing. Next up, Jay versus Chad. Chad with a 39-point win over Jay in week 2. Wow. I think this is going to be more of the same. Chad's just solid all over, as we talked about a few minutes ago.
Yeah,
mediocre at quarterback, but solid enough everywhere else. I think Jay beats him at the quarterback. But do you like any of his other positions? Jay have an edge?
No, the Paris Campbell Drake London combination. Singletary seems like the biggest rusher on that team is Josh Allen. It seems like they've got a couple of the backs getting carries. I don't know. I was riding for Jay, but I think I need to put that horse in the barn. I think that Chad wins. I think Chad's going to climb his way potentially into the playoffs. Be very curious what happens.
All right, so we both got Chad on the win there. False John versus Shane. Sweat Sox with a 29-point win in week 2. But False John needs this game so badly. And not only does he have to do it against Shane, but the Dolphins are facing the 49ers. So it's no cakewalk defense here.
No,
Now,
at
on the
San
other side,
Francisco.
yeah. I mean, that is a nightmare defense.
Yeah.
But Josh Allen has to play the Patriots, and we've seen them shut people down too. A lot of big explosive players in this matchup. I think Shane gets the win. I don't think False John makes it easy on him. I think it's a dogfight, but Shane comes out ahead.
I love this game. There's some seriously really, really good NFL games this week. I'm sure you looked at the slate. I mean, and there's some really, really good games in RT Sports. SoonerNation League's looking great. I will take False John if you've got the Sweat Sox, just so we can have a different pick. But man, I also really love that Shane starts the Niners defense against Tua. So every interception that Tua throws is actually a 6-point swing. So man, that helps you with your pick, but it just makes it exciting to watch that game.
That's fun. That's fun. True John versus Jason. Jason with a 29-point week 2 win. I don't think this game is going to be a fight. The highest scoring team in the league facing the floundering Pharisees. Chris Godwin might give John a prayer on Monday night, but it's not going to matter, just like this game doesn't matter. Easy win for the Karate Kid.
Boy, I'll take the Karate Kid. I really would like a win because I've been thinking about the scenario you played out with 2 losses and 2 Brandon wins means I don't even win the division. And you don't want that. You want to get the division. You want to be able to. You don't want to have to be necessarily too worried about trying to squeak out a last win of a last week. So I'm really hoping to win, and I'll take myself to beat True John.
All right, our final one. I guess this is the game of the week. Brandon versus Jeremy.
Yeah,
the only game with stakes on both sides.
Yep.
Week 2, Brandon with a 36-point win.
Wow.
I do not think this will be our highest scoring game this week, but I do think it's going to be the most compelling. Wouldn't surprise me to see one of these teams maybe try to make a trade this week, try to get a little extra boost. I don't know. I think Brandon does all his damage on Sunday, and then Carr tries to make a comeback. I think he just comes up short Monday night. I think Brandon wins, and I think this sets up Brandon versus Jason last week of the season.
Man, I will. Okay, I'll take the other side of you on this one too. I had in my mind, I thought Brandon was going to win. I'm going to stick with Brandon. I look at the lineups. I think Tyreek Hill is an elite player. I love Geno. Jamal Williams always scores, but Seattle having the Rams, the defending Super Bowl champion Rams, might be one of the worst 2 or 3 teams in the league. Who do you think's worse than the Rams right now? Houston?
Just Houston. And the Rams, well, maybe not even Houston, because and the Rams, what they just lost, Aaron Donald, like what?
And Robinson and Stafford's hurt and Kupp's out and
it's I just don't see a path. They're awful. They're paying for their Super Bowl.
You know what? It might be similar to Jay winning the Super Bowl last year and just having the year from hell when it comes to injuries.
Yeah.
Huh,
good job. He's a Ram.
All
right. Let's talk to Chris. Let's see.
Yes.
Bleep, 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 bleep. Hello. Oh, I can't get him on the phone. Chris is on the toilet right now, taking a big poop. Like I'd give that jive turkey any time of air on my show.
Aaron! Oh my gosh, you guys. I don't know what happened. Something Chris, you guys, I got to call Aaron on the phone. We'll catch you later. Worst of luck to you, Aaron, and worst of luck to the rest of the league, and we'll see you next week.